This is Africa Unbound on radio, a weekly program that aims to create a community of actively engaged individuals to make a positive difference in Africa. This program broadcasts in several cities across the continent. For a list of radio stations broadcasting the program, visit our website at www.africaunbound.org. And now, here is your host, Dr. Rahel Kasahun.
Welcome, everyone, to this edition of Africa Unbound on radio. Africa Unbound is a movement that aims to establish peace, prosperity, and freedom in Africa through individual transformation. Our goal is to raise awareness that within each of us is a seed of greatness that must be nurtured and developed. Together, we'll explore ways in which we can unleash our inherent capacity to be creative and innovative so we can transform our own lives and our communities.
It's one tribe, y'all. We one tribe, y'all. We one tribe, y'all. We are one people. Let's catch amnesia. Forget about...
Funding for this program was provided by the African Capacity Building Foundation's Innovations Financing Facility. ACBF's mission is to build sustainable human and institutional capacity for economic growth and poverty reduction in Africa. My guest today is Lerato Mosimane. Lerato is a multi-talented young woman from South Africa. She's a creative thinker and a social entrepreneur. Welcome to the show, Lerato.
Thank you so much, Rahel. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm very pleased.
Thank you for joining us. Tell us about yourself. How would you describe yourself?
Well, as you said, I like to think of myself as a creative thinker, like you said. But the big part of me and how I always sell myself to people, I say I'm a social entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And that's meaning I run a company called Guy Communications, which for us, when I established it, I really wanted to, because my background is so much marketing, events, and I've also done a bit of broadcasting. So it's pretty much things that are within the creative industries. Mm-hmm. So when I started, I thought to myself, how could I come into the market and be relevant, mm-hmm. so to speak, especially in South Africa, knowing all the issues that we have. So I said, and I looked up some models of how companies are running and how new markets or new trends for the future. So I saw something relating to corporate social investment, and I thought it would be very good for me to sort of operate my company from a double bottom line sort of point of view, where I have to make profit and mm-hmm. I also have to make a difference within my community. So those two things are very important for me to in as much as we generate income, mm-hmm. we should also be looking into solving solutions or coming up with solutions for the community that we operate in. So that's where I started. But as I went on, and again, when you're living in a country like South Africa, there's a lot of opportunities. But at the same time, there's so many things that are working against young people.
Such as,
for instance, when you come into the whole thing, you're not established, you don't have experience, you don't have so much because you've been deprived of that opportunity previously. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's the opportunities are there, but I think the problem is that we don't have government that has a proper outreach, mm-hmm. particularly as young people and as well women. Mm-hmm. And if you look at my profile, the work that I do is so much focused on women and youth. Mm-hmm. Because when we're looking at the core of our problems, which is poverty, you know that it hits directly to young people and women. Mm-hmm. Those are the two vulnerable groups that are mostly hit by it. So it's challenges that I think you cannot ignore when you are working, when you're running a business, because it also affects you in some way, right. You know. So so I can say that I'm a social entrepreneur. I'm also an arts activist. What we do here, the organization that I formed, Platinum Africa Youth Tourism, is a trust. So it's a trust that we thought that tourism, it's a growing industry, particularly in South Africa, because South Africa is so well positioned globally. There's a brand, SA brand is working right now. And we felt that as the number one sector in the world, I think it's the number one job creator in the world, that in South Africa, it's an opportunity for young people to sort of get into travel and tourism. For us here, it's a new industry, so to speak,
Okay.
And when we looked into tourism, we said there's so many entry levels. You don't have to go to 3 years to school or sort of like have some kind of academic background that's hectic for you to get into the tourism industry. So we found it's a kind of industry that we can introduce young people into, and we've been running it since 2008. So through paid, we also promote things like crafters, artists, performing artists, because at the end of the day, these are the people who entertain the local artists. Who entertain tourists when they come to the country. So they have to sort of fall into the bag of what travel and tourism is all about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Describe yourself to me. Who are you?
My name is Lerato, and it means love. I think in everything that I do, I am so much about love. I'm about sharing. I'm about, because everything with what I have, I can only better myself if I share with other people. And I'm also very much an African. I'm pro-African products or African identity. I think there's a need for us to remold what Africa stands for, and how we identify with Africa as young people now is going to say a lot in terms of where we're going in the future. So I really like to, when you see me, I'd like you to see somebody that represents Africa.
What does creative thinking mean to you? What makes one a creative person?
I think being a creative person is about having a sense of expression that is limitless, that you can be whoever and express it in whatever manner that you see fit. And again, creative means that you are able to respond to your environment, to your people in a manner that's conducive. I don't know if you've heard of the spear, the painting that was done recently by an artist from SA who had depicted the President Jacob Zuma naked. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't. And
it's caused a lot of uproar in terms of what's that? Can we say that's creative? Can we accept that in our society? And I think being a creative person simply means that you don't have rules. There are no rules, but in the same way, it doesn't mean that you have to go out and disrespect people. That's also not part of our culture.
How did you become interested in culture and heritage and the preservation of culture?
I think it's something that happened when I came home. Because a lot of times you get caught up in big cities. I used to live in Joburg and worked in Joburg and had the whole urban lifestyle, And when I came back home, I realized that we have so much heritage. We have so many things that have happened in the past that I'm not part of or that I don't know so well.
Where is home?
So what happened is when I came back home, our home is Northwest Province in Mahigeng. It's a small town called Mahigeng. So when I came back home, I decided, my God, I don't know much about my history. I think I need to also do a introspect of who I am and where I come from and my people. So it kind of started from there. And then I thought, how best can we do it? And I thought it would be much better for me to have a organization that creates a platform to educate young people into travel and tourism, and therefore finding out more about their cultures and their heritage.
Okay.
So that's basically how it happened.
You are one of the producers of the album $1 a Day. Tell us about the project. How did the idea come about?
Okay, the idea came about when we invited Muki Garang, who is he runs an organization called Maisha Yetu in Nairobi, Kenya. And his organization, basically, we found that there's similarities in what we're doing in our respective countries. So he came down, and we thought, how best can we have a project that represents us and that can create some kind of platform to communicate where youth or young people are at this point. As well, it coincided with the 100 years of African National Congress, the creation of African National Congress, which is the current party that's governing in South Africa. The reason why we also sort of focused on that was that the African National Congress, as the name says, was meant to unite Africans when it was created. It was an organization that was supposed to say, Africans, let's come together, let's work together against oppression, you know? So in sort of highlighting where we come from, why African National Congress was created, and where we are as young people, are we united, and what are some of the issues that are coming up amongst us? You know, it doesn't matter which country we are from, but we really just wanted to get some kind of sense of like the headspace of young people in Africa. What are they thinking? And a lot of things have happened in the past years, and we feel like there isn't really anything out there that represents the voice of young African people in different countries. We don't have that. So we thought this would be such a unique project that could also be available to everybody for free, you know, and that's the beauty about the $1 a Day, is that you can go download it online for free. We're not selling anything. We're just selling ideas of ideologies and what are people's perceptions of our development as Africans and our state of our state of affairs, you know. So I think it's our first edition. There's definitely going to be another one because of the response that we get from this one. Everybody's just saying, wow, this is something that is needed, you know. So the response was just too awesome. We definitely going to have another one. We even discussed with Muki that some of the things that need to be happening, I need to be able to have, if I'm having an event or there's a promotion of an event here, I must also lobby to have other African artists outside the country perform there because it's a platform. You know, we so much doing things on our own day. So I think what it really demonstrated to us is that we need to create this network. It's absolutely important that we have networks where we share, where we can even help each other out, you know? I mean, if there's an artist in Botswana and there's an event here where we can feature one artist, that's one artist better off in Botswana. It doesn't have to be a South African artist all the time. So that network that we created demonstrated to us that we actually have that ability to do that. We just need to do it.
Very good. We're going to play your piece here, titled Mosadi.
Simpiti mosadi kana sesadi go mpusetsa morago o nteka selekano jaaka namane e golofetseng ka popo ya tlhago dilo tsotlhe di tlhodilwe ke Ramasedi ka lorato le tshedimosetso. The Enlightenment in this day and age accentuates a whole new perception of the ideal of a unified, dignified human race. Tabulule umpone sisa umpitse monka wena ke khethegile le nna ka pono ya leitlho ke sesupo sa thatafatso ya tlhago le kitso ya boleng ke kana ka tlhago ke kana ka setso simpitse mosadi ke mohumanaga mme wa motse ke mophutha setšhaba ke mongwe wa bahumanegi ba ba fedisang lehuma itharabologele o tseye tsiye le tshwetso ya ditiragatso tse di makatsang. To reach a level of consciousness that serves a higher purpose, consumed by a state of consumerism with cocaines and trendsets of popping pills and poison binge sessions called the high life. Deluded, delirious, and dysfunctional, plagued by daredevils. We are under attack. Hollywood, Bollywood, Nollywood. LOL. Ha! Almost like ho ho ho, trick or treat. Breaking news. The story relates that the African indigenous knowledge has been subjugated and vilified for at least 4 centuries and severely corroded by the encounter with Western colonial forces or imperialists. Humanity has much to lament for the loss of so much wealth of cultural conservation and wisdom. Nevertheless, a remnant of that knowledge has survived the turmoil of life. I don't need to be an Indian to be a yogi, just like they don't need to be African to love and embrace Africa. Let's take stock of our common cultural knowledge, fine-tune our nature-based cultural practices all over the world, and in most abundance here in Africa, reinventing Africa for the Africans and the world. Yes!
I'd like to give a special vote of thanks to a lot of unsung heroes, those persons unknown, like the strong women in my family, Bukuku, Libo Mama, Bumalume, Borangwani, Libo Rakhaji, Bumamani, Libo Mamalume, Matuna Ame, Mama, Libaba. Thank you to Mama Masuku, the work of Ndate Kerumutwa, Miss Sylvia Liabite, Mama Wangari Madai, Mama Miriam Makeba, Mama Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Mama Lima Buli, Mama Ruth Mumbati, Ngaka Mutire Molema, Ngaka Kenneth Kaunda, Mama Grasa Mashal, Mele Bumashide, Deme Brenda Fasi, and to the ancestors, Africans stand on high shoulders of the likes of Thomas Sankara, Kwame Nkrumah, Bob Black, Muhammad Gaddafi, Julius Nyerere, Steve Biko, Chris Hani, and many legends who live on in spirit. I salute you all. Bless.
Africa Unbound, a movement to inspire and engage Africans to live an empowered life. We no longer wait to the sidelines for others to improve the conditions of our life. Today, we are waking up to the truth that we are the ones we've been waiting for. We are no longer victims of history. We are conscious participants in our destiny. We are Africa Unbound. Welcome back to Africa Unbound on radio. My guest today is Lerato Mosimane. What does Mosadi mean?
Mosadi is in Tswana is what people refer to a woman. Mm-hmm. And in direct translation, Mosadi is the person that gets left behind. So it's one of those things that we've all accepted that that's what the word means. After thinking about it, I said to myself, why do we still allow this word to exist mm-hmm. for us women? Because women, we're facing lots of challenges in terms of, our gender rights and opportunities for women and how women are generally treated. We are the people that get left behind. So mm-hmm. I was sort of challenging that word and saying that, can we redefine and can we come up with new ways of engaging with each other. I wouldn't want my counterpart to look at me as somebody that gets left behind. I'd actually like them to think of me as a strong woman who, if I'm strong, I'm making it strong. You know, and in our culture, women are the people that carry communities. You know, they build communities, they take care of the kids. They're not given the recognition, and that word is derogative, and I think it's not fitting. So that's where basically the poem came from.
You talk about reinventing Africa for the Africans and the world. How do we do that, and what does that take?
I honestly believe that we have the youth, the young people, to move that forward. Our former president, Thabo Mbeki, used to talk about an African Renaissance, and before him, lots of people have talked about African Renaissance. Basically, we need to find a way to realize what Africa can be to the rest of the world, because we have so much. I mean, the first election was here. So when I say that, I believe that we need to adopt a culture, or not necessarily a culture. We need to adopt a way of doing things whereby we become a knowledge-based society. And that, I believe, can start with young people. When I'm saying that we need to become a knowledge-based society, meaning that we need to invest in our young people, in our people, for the future. And everything these days is about knowledge. It's about information, you know, and for as long as we don't have education systems that produce the right type of people who will lead countries and not necessarily go out and seek jobs. Because currently what's happening is that we have education systems that have been created by predecessing governments to produce workers. You know, and is that going to work? So I think we need to start asking ourselves that, what is it going to take for our young people, and how are we going to empower these young people to come up and be young leaders? You know, we're talking about the future Nelson Mandelas here, the future Chris Hanis, the future Sisulus. We're talking about people who will have the vision for not only South Africa, but to have the vision for Africa that is so linked with how we equipping the youngsters who will now take on that role. And I think that's where we need to start. And it's also going to be determined by the type of leaders that we have.
Yes.
Because I think currently we're suffering from lack of good leaders. Okay.
And another phrase that I want to refer to in your poem, you say the enlightenment in this day and age accentuates a whole new perception of the ideal of a unified, dignified human race. Tell me about that.
I think in that, what I was trying to say is that if I'm down and I'm here, don't think that doesn't affect you. You know, the enlightenment in a unified, dignified human race. It means that at the end of the day, the bottom line is that we are all humans. And we all live in this world. We're all created by the same person. And if you are in the United States, you're thinking that issues that are in Africa do not affect you, you're living in I don't know, you're fooling yourself, or you're misleading yourself. Because if Africa is not well, the world is not well. If Europe is not well, the world is not well. So for us, we must be enlightened to know that whatever happens at the other end of the world does affect me. As a human race, we must start there. Because whether I'm Chinese, I'm Indian, I'm African, does not make a difference. We are all one human race. We should all be in one team, basically, working towards a betterment of our lives together as one world. So that's where I was coming from.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lerato. This has been very, very an enlightening and a wonderful conversation. I really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rahel. I've really enjoyed the interview, and I hope to talk to you in the future.
To learn more about the Africa Unbound movement, visit us online at www.africaunbound.org. You may also join our Facebook group, Members of the Africa Unbound Movement.
We'll be back with you again next week with another show. Until then, keep on unbinding.
One people, one people. One love, one blood, one people. One heart, one beat, we equal. Connected like the internet, united, that's how we do. Let's break walls so we see through. Let love and peace lead you. We could